Well, hi, it's Jerry with I Love RV Life. Well, we've just gotten back from 2 months in Florida. We had a blast in St. Augustine. I'll put a link up here and you can see some of the videos that we did down there. We just had an absolute blast. I think we called it the Beach Bum Tour, but we had so much fun. Well, we're back in Middle Georgia now for just a couple weeks. I got to share with you, it is, I don't know, mid-90s, and I think the humidity is at the same level. It is absolutely brutal. Just taking the garbage out is a sweat fest. So we've had about enough after 2 weeks, and we're going to have something really unusual, and I can't wait to show you the videos here in a couple weeks when we go up there. But we're going to go up to Bryson City, North Carolina. And in Bryson City, we're close to the Great Smoky Mountains, Cherokee, North Carolina. But added to the trip is going to be my daughter, her husband, the coach, and the 3 grandbabies. So I'm really looking forward to sharing some of the videos of not only mine and Joan's experience, but seeing some of the others on the trails and when we go over the Cherokee and things like that. So it's going to be a lot of fun. Well, let me share with you what today's video is about, and it is your electric, I call it the electric kit. What do you carry in your RV to make sure when you go to a specific campground that you have all the things that you need to get a proper hookup, a safe hookup, and the variety of different types of things that you run into while you're out there. So we're going to a new campground. We think that we're going to get a 50 amp connection. We're not sure. If not, if it's only 30, no problem. We can handle it. And we've had a number of instances, especially in our winter trip this year, to where we had distances from the power pedestal to the back of our RV that was too short. We had a fix for that. We had a location that we went to that had no 50 amp connection, but it had 2 30s. We had a fix for that. We went to another location last year that only had a 30. We have a 50 amp connection. We had a fix for that. So I want to show you what's in our electric kit, and then make some suggestions that you would probably want to have something similar to this. Today's video is going to be specifically for 50 amp connections, but primary 50 amp connections, but the same rules apply if you only have a 30, only a 30. You don't have quite the limitations on a 30 that we have in 50. As you see here, you know, this camper here, he's 40 feet, and with a 40 foot, we have 2 air conditioners. So we've got 15,000 BTU up front, and then we've got a 13,500 in the bedroom. To run both of those, you need 50 amp. We have a residential refrigerator. A residential refrigerator takes about 1.5 amps. We have a microwave, 1500 watt. It's a bruiser. Joan will go to dry her hair with a 1500 watt hair dryer. It takes a lot of power. So when you're on a 50 amp connection, you want to try to utilize it to the best of your ability. But if not, you want to use some power management. So I'm going to turn the camera around now and show you some of the basic things that we have in our kit, and then give you some of the pros and cons of why you want to use these types of things. Also, everything that I'm going to show here, I'll have in the notes down below, in the show notes on the website, and on the description notes down in the YouTube video, that if you want to buy something like this for your camper or your RV experience and you don't have it, these are good quality products that we've purchased, and they've worked well for us, and I think you'll probably have a similar result. So let's turn the camera around and I'll show you some of the things we have. So the first item we have here is our surge guard. This is a surge guard. I'll kind of zoom in close here. This is a 34750. This is for 50 amp. Notice this is a large boy. I'll put my hand down here so you can kind of see the size of this. This is a big unit. The good thing about this unit here, and I strongly recommend this unit, this has saved us tons of money. I've been very pleased with it. Again, I get compensated for none of the products that I'm showing for you. This is purely on experience. But this surge guard does a couple things, and I'll hook it up and kind of show you what it looks like here in just a minute. But this manages on a 50 amp both your L1, your L2 connection. It protects your air conditioners if you have a power outage. It's got a slightly over a 2-minute delay so that you don't burn your compressor up if you've had a power outage. It does open neutral monitoring, which is very important. This keeps you from possibly getting electrocuted at your campsite. The unit also does neutral reverses, so in case they've wired your plug wrong, this unit will protect you and make sure that everything is wired properly. Bottom line, it will say, this will flash right here, it says error when flashing, and then you'll actually get a readout, not a code. It'll actually tell you what's going on. I'll give you a for instance of how this thing saved us a ton of money. Last year we were in Panama City, we hooked up, we ran for about 20 hours, and then one of the legs opened up. If that would have happened and not cut off, we could have possibly burned up one or more air conditioners. It would have been absolutely catastrophic. This unit, I'll put the pricing down in the show notes. I think we paid $365 for this one 3 years ago. We've been using it 3 years, and it has really saved us. This is a 50 amp model. You can get a 30 amp model with the 30 amp plug. And there are some lesser cost units that are purely surge, but you know, I will just caution you that go with the slightly added price and get all the features. You'll be better served, better protected, and look, you've got a huge investment in your camper, in your RV, so you know, protect it. And this is a small price to pay. I'll show you. You just plug this in on one end, plug your main cord into this end, and in 2 minutes and change you're up and running and you're well protected. The second thing that I would buy is this unit right here. Let me set the camera down. I'll show you how this unit works. This is very simple to use. It's a high impact plastic. Is it going to stop the most hardened criminal? Absolutely not, but it sure will make their life difficult. I've never had any problems. But you plug your cable in here, you turn this around to where the cable entrance is right here, you plug in. You take this unit right in here, you snap it in like so, and then put a padlock. I just use one of these. You can get them at Lowe's or just about anywhere, Walmart, Home Depot, just about anywhere, and Ace Hardware. And I use those with the little 4-digit tumblers, and I put me a nice master lock on here, and your cable comes out of here at the bottom, and that puts a lock on there and just makes it a dickens to be able to break. I mean, it can be a little difficult just to separate, but this will save you a lot of money, give you some protection, make sure your unit doesn't get stolen, or at least helps you from that perspective. So this is a Surge Guard unit. It is the model 34750, 50 amp, and again it has a cousin that is a 30 amp model, and this is the full featured unit. Served us fantastic, saved our RV multiple times in just some really scary lightning storms, and as well as just a power outage on one of the legs, one of the 120 legs and a 50 amp connection in a Panama City location, and basically saved us from losing our air conditioners. So it has really served us well, the lock box. But I want to show you a couple other things as far as adapters, and I think you'll find this very, very helpful, because you never know what you're going to find in a campground. We do a lot of campgrounds in state parks. We'll go to like Corps of Engineer locations, and sometimes we'll even go to something that is a municipal or a county, and sometimes your electrical connections are limited of what you find in those specific areas, but it shouldn't prevent you from going there unless it's middle Georgia, 95 degrees with 95% humidity. You might want to make sure you've got enough power for your air conditioner. But there's other times of the year that we travel that we don't need that, and we have these connections here that can help us as well to make sure that we get power. So let me show you those. So this unit here is a 30 to 50 amp connection. One of the things I want to show you, you can buy cheaper models in some of the big box stores. This is a Camco model. Notice if you look here how heavy these plugs are. When you find the cheaper units, these plugs are very, very thin. You got to be careful. If they're very thin, this is solid. This is solid brass, I think. And the cheaper units, it's actually 2 thin layers, and you got to be careful. Those will break off, or they're very, very thin and they'll get hot. If these things get hot, the breaker blows because you're pulling too much power. We've got a heavy duty cable here that's very, very important for the adapter, and of course the 50 amp connection that's located here as well. Why do you want to have this big heavy wire? Well, if you get it too thin, as some of these cheaper models have, this acts as a fuse. It will actually get very hot because you've got a big heavy cable that you're running to the back of your camper, and when it gets hot, it will cause the fuse breaker to blow, and you don't want to have that happen. So if you've got a 50 amp model and you only have a 30 amp connection, you can still use this. You have to do a little bit of power management, but you can run a single air conditioner. In the winter, if you want to run your microwave and hair dryers and things like that, you can usually get away with something like that all at the same time. Big issue here, one air conditioner, but it shouldn't limit you from being able to go to a really nice campground like a state park or a Corps of Engineer park or some other location that might only have an older campground that might only have a 30 amp connection. So we've used this a bunch. We've used it twice this year, and it's worked out really great for us. Now here is what I call my cheater. This thing is awesome. Again, I'll put these in the show notes. Again, big heavy duty plugs, nice thick heavy duty cables. You want to look at that. But notice what this has. This is two 30 amp connections. So we were in a campground in Tennessee back in the winter. I plugged this into each one of the 30 amp connections, and that gave me 30 amps on each one of my 50 amp connection legs, my L1, L2. Okay, so that gave me a total of 60 amps. It was actually better. And then I plugged my 50 amp connection in here. So with this, I had all my full power options. I didn't have to worry about anything as far as running anything that we wanted within the RV. It was no problem whatsoever. We didn't have any fuses blow, none of the outside fuses blow, cables didn't get hot. Wow, this is wonderful. I used this once this winter, and once last spring in a state park that had two 30 amp connections. And there is a Corps of Engineer park that we go to that has two 30s in it, and we didn't have this. Is the reason I bought this. We didn't have it when we went to that park. I immediately, when we got home, I ordered this off Amazon, got it. I've used it, at least use it once or twice a year since that point, and I've been extraordinarily pleased with it. It's worked fantastic. So when we go back to that Corps of Engineer park later on this year, we'll have it, and we'll be really happy with it as a result of that. Now this is an interesting thing too. Notice this is 50 amp on this connection. It goes into the back, 50 amp. But what do we have here? Some people call it a 20 or a 15 amp connection. Just basically, it is a standard household plug-in. It will handle up to 20 amps. I didn't bring it out. I went to, I think it was Lowe's, and bought me a nice, high quality 50-foot 10 amp extension cord. Why 10 amp? Now they're expensive. Let me go ahead and share that with you. That's a very, very expensive 10 gauge. I said 10 amp. I apologize. A 10 gauge connection. And why is that important? Well, you're pulling power a long ways. You're going to be pulling some heavy amperage, and you want to have as much power get through that cord as possible. If you use one of these skinny 12 gauge cables, you're going to blow the circuit breaker all the time. You're not going to be happy with it at all. Spend a few extra dollars. Again, I'll put in the show notes where this unit is. This screws right into the back of our fifth wheel. And then we use this side right here to the extension cord. Where this has been handy is, well, let's say that you stopped off at a friend's house, and they will allow you to be able to hook into the side of their home. This will keep your batteries charged up. You can watch TV. In some instances, you might even be able to run your microwave. But the biggest issue here is charging your batteries up, having power, being able to run your furnace, being able to watch TV. You're not going to run your air conditioner on a 20 amp circuit. It's not going to happen. At least not a 13.5 or a 15,000 BTU. Maybe one of the 10s, but even with that, I think it's going to be a stretch if you have a smaller camper. But that's really not going to happen. But at least, especially if you're traveling in the fall or the winter or early spring and you don't need air conditioning and you're going to stop somewhere, this is also great when you go to like an Elks Lodge or a Moose Park or one of these municipal places. I've had friends who just got back from the West, and in their travels out west, they stopped at a lot of county parks, and in the county parks they may have had potable water and they may have had a sewage dump, but where you parked your vehicle, all they had was a 20 amp this style, household style connection. And you know, they had these for their 30, or they had these for their 50 amp connection, and they could still, you know, charge their batteries back up and not have to put a drain on that, keep the refrigerators running, have lights, watch TV, do those types of things. That's absolutely a great unit. Do I use it? Not often, but probably once a year. But it's that once a year that you have it, and you're glad you have it, and it just makes your travel so much easier. The other thing that I'll show you here is a good quality extension cord. They make these in 50, and they make these in 30 amp connections. We had multiple instances the first year we owned the RV, and I'm going to show you how our camper's set up, that we sure wish we would have had one of these. What would happen is, well, here, let me take you around to the back of the camper and I'll show you what we're dealing with. You'll see here we're at the back of the camper, and our power connection is right here by the bumper. Don't ask me why. It just doesn't seem like that's the best place to put it, especially, let's walk around here. And you'll see I've got the big slide here, and I'm sure this limits some of my options. But here is, you know, there's my water connection, you know, for my city water. And then if you look right under here, there's the black tank and gray tank connections. But you would think that maybe somewhere up here, I'm sure there's some code issues that limit where that power connection was going to be. But take a look at this. All the way back there is where my electrical connection is. You'll park somewhere, you know, here on the side, you know, to wherever your post is going to be. And then what ends up happening to us so many times, 3 or 4 times a year, 5 times a year, maybe more, our cord isn't long enough. So let me show you the solution. We bought this last year. Here's the solution. So as you look at this, we have a 20-foot cable, 40-foot camper, you know, 40-foot camper. And then by the time we go from the back 20 feet, we can't reach the pedestal. It happened to us 3 times already this year. Matter of fact, in Florida, it didn't work. And what would have happened, we'd had to pull the camper up to the front, or it not have been in the ideal location, or there's a tree in the way that, or a limb or something like that that prevents a slide out, and it just makes it a pain in the backside. So this is a 15-foot cable. Now, again, let's talk about quality, buying quality, and not having headaches later. This is an 8-gauge, AWAG, 8-gauge cable inside here. Very thick, very large wire. You don't want to go with something cheap and thin. If you end up doing that, then you end up creating a fuse or a point to where the cable will heat up, and you will lose power, you'll lose amperage, it will cause you problems. By being able to take our 20-foot cable, putting this 15 on here, we have yet to have any issue where we cannot put our camper where we want and be able to gain access to our 50 amp or 30 amp connection that we're trying to use. So this has been a huge benefit. We've had this for a little over a year now, and it's really made our camping experience far better, especially with the dadgum connector in the very back end of our RV. Again, I'm sure there's a reason for it. I can't come up with one. Doesn't seem like that was the best design. Gateland, Hartway, hopefully you're listening for the future ones. Maybe you can move these things a little bit forward and make future owners with something that's a little bit easier to use. So let me show you one other item that I think will be very beneficial. We're at home. We're here for a couple weeks, and when we come home, we used to use our 15-20 amp connection and just use it for lights in the refrigerator. We came home this time and we had a gift. Our air conditioner that we use for our home was dead. Not only was it dead, it was unrepairable. You know, luck of the draw. Murphy abounds. And we literally had to driveway surf in our own home for 4 days. It was 4th of July week, and it took them 4 days to be able to get a unit out here and replace our whole air conditioning unit for our home. Yeah, it was expensive. But as a result of this configuration that I'm showing you right now, it really wasn't a problem. We just stayed in our camper. I sure wish Joan would let me sell this house, but she's just not there yet. So anyway, let me show you what we've done here, and I'll show you what our connection is and how it works, okay? So here we are in our workshop. I have a two-car garage workshop, and I had this 60 amp panel installed. I had an electrician install this with a 30 by 30 breaker, and then they installed this plug for me. So what I do when we come home, I just take our surge protector. Yes, I absolutely do use it when I'm here at home. Then I'll take this plug and put it in here. This goes over to our camper. I guess this is the only time that having that thing in the back works. Yeah, okay. I'll give Heartland that, but that wasn't their original intent, I can assure you. You always want to leave your power off when you're plugging everything in. The power is on. So I'll show you this now. It's I gave it its time to kind of get reset. I'll try to zoom in here. I hope that you can make this out. I know it's wiggly and I apologize for that. But you can actually see the reading that's coming off of the unit telling me that everything is okay. 121 volts, 125 volts. It'll give it to you on each leg. You know, so there is my L1 leg at 121 volts and it's working, RV on. Apologize that this is shaky. And then L2 125 volts and it's on. And then I've got the green power and I don't have anything flashing and it's just working perfectly. And this is great. You know, this allows me to have my air conditioners running if we need to come out here and do some repairs or load it up, put groceries in it, those types of things. It's really nice. It's really nice. We really enjoy that. So there you have it. My electric kit. Every adapter that over 3 years in our travels that we've used, we've been extraordinarily happy with each one. Knock on wood, I don't have any, but we've never had a single problem using any of these adapters. We bought high quality adapters, high quality extension cords, and no matter where we travel, if there's electrical connection, we haven't run into any location that we couldn't use a 50, 230s, 20 amp standard plug-in and still be able to enjoy our RV either for an overnight or for a week or several weeks, just depending on what we were doing. So consider this. If you're new to camping, these are essential. If you're an occasional camper, RVer, these are essential. And if you're like Joan and I that go out and spend months at a time, I can't imagine not having our electrical kit available to us to be able to use the different types of connections that we run into when we go into a campground. So it's 95 degrees. I am sweating. The next video you see after this, I'm going to be in the cool mountains of North Carolina, and I can't wait to show you that and let you meet my grandbabies. It's going to be fun. Can't wait to see you there. So as always, this is Jerry, sweating in Middle Georgia, and I still love RV life.